Let me introduce the panelists to my right. Shashi Bellamkonda from Network Solutions. Will Hazelden, an Assistant Attorney General from the state of Florida. Mike Kowal from LinkShare. And Jivan Manhas from Advaliant. I think this is going to be an excellent session for you. Everyone's been talking about social media in all these different sessions and talking about how great it is and wonderful opportunities, and they are. There are fantastic opportunities out there. But like any venture you do online, there are also rules of the road and things you need to pay attention to. So I think you got a good balance here with two lawyers, myself and Will, probably talking about some risks, but trying not to scare you too much. And everyone else talking about a lot of the rewards. And I think at the end of this session, what you should come away from is realizing that social media is a fantastic opportunity. And you just need to watch a couple of rules and just be careful to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. Each of us have PowerPoint presentations, and then really some fantastic content. When that's done, we'll then hopefully have some time for Q&A from the audience. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Shashi, who can sit or stand, your choice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're got a lot of knowledge in the last couple of days, and we hopefully will add some to that. My name is Shashi Bellamkonda, and Social Media Swami is my designation. I work for Network Solutions, and I'm here to talk about some experiences that Network Solutions has had in social media and how we kind of practiced it in the last 1 year. Social media gives you an opportunity to be a face in the crowd. I was on the plane ride here. I was reading Pirate's Dilemma by Matt Mason. He was a pirate radio station DJ himself, and it's a fantastic book. I recommend it. In that, he quotes a saying that says, when the winds of change are blowing, some people build shelters and some people build windmills. So my message to you all is start building windmills, join social networks, and have your own niche market where you're an expert, people validate you. And you must have heard Dave Taylor in one of his sessions where he said, like, it's not important. There may be hundreds of people selling the same product and competing on price. But the market is changing. People are competing more in terms of recommendations. People are more interested in listening about what other people have to say about companies than the companies themselves. And just like you, I'm here to learn from my fellow panelists also in this session. What did we do in Network Solutions? You must have heard this over and over again. Listen, participate, but hopefully you'll take the key takeaways from this are in the next couple of slides, where this is my experience as being the chief social media strategist of Network Solutions. Listening is a key. Does everybody have Google alerts for their products or for their own names? Show of hands. If you don't, I would strongly suggest that you not only have it for your professional life, but have it for your personal life also. I have Google alerts for my children, just simply because you don't know who is uploading information where. So that's pretty important. These are some of the tools that we're using. Sometimes it's also important to look at what the trends are. What are people talking about is, like, for example, we are a web hosting company. Is web hosting what people are talking about in terms of products, or has the buzz changed to like WordPress or blogs and everything else? Participating, commenting on blogs. You can even have, technology today lets you comment in terms of video responses to somebody who puts videos up, participating in forums. Why did we do this? Is when we first started in the social media, we didn't go there as people who would say, hey, this is a new marketing channel. Let's go out and start giving out coupons. We wanted to be there to help people. And some of these things like LinkedIn answers are an opportunity for everybody to establish themselves as an expert. I mean, if you're an expert, let's say, in a particular kind of flower arrangement, I think if the question comes up, you should be there to answer. And it's amazing that if you belong to any social networks, people will actually stop doing what they're doing to try to help you out and answer the question. Say you're starting a blog, and if you say on Twitter that you have this problem, a lot of people will come out and help you. So this is your opportunity when you're going to set it up to practice and give back the same help that you've got from others. Contribution, attending a conference means that you get several blog posts. And this is genuinely, it's you, it's not your product. But people want to hear about what do you do, What are the conferences that you attend? How does this relate to your business? Jay Berkowitz, who's in one of the other panels, I met him. He had several interesting tips for small businesses. So the Network Solutions blog is a conversation between people. We didn't go there and say we're going to write about our products at all. And we are also on Twitter as NetSol Cares, mainly if customers need our help, but we don't put out anything about products there. I was very glad to receive a prize from the Society of New Media Communications and Research on Reputation Management. And this is where I come to talk about the rewards that we did in engaging in the social media was we brought down, the blue line is the negative comments. The negative comments before we started our social media strategy was almost 58% when we took a benchmark study in July last year. And just by following the steps that I outlined in the previous slides, we actually brought it down to less than 20%. That's a huge achievement for us, and that also gives us validation that this strategy of following best practices of social media is correct. We can also do some cool things. This gentleman, I met him he's Chris Carfey from Serrado Software. I met him in San Francisco, and we said just a couple of days before Black Friday, let's do something for Black Friday. So we decided to collaborate on this gadget. Now, there's nothing really cool about a gadget, except this gadget brings all the feeds from the top Black Friday sites into one place. So that was why it was talked about. We had a lot of press coverage and blogger coverage for this. So these are not our products. These are all products from, we left the affiliate IDs and everything else still intact. The only thing that we got out of it was the sponsored blog ad. And if you'll notice, there's another button called the buzz, which was everybody on Twitter who was talking about Black Friday, we had their feed there. So what we did was this Black Friday, we wanted everybody to go to a single place to try and get Black Friday deals. It had nothing to do with us, but still we had these gadgets. Shoppers are everywhere. I mean, it would be, if you go, Twitter is a favorite social network of mine, and go there, wood.com is there. But the best thing about this is, if you're interested in any of these people, you'll be subscribing to them. There isn't, these things are very transparent. Like Dell has several Twitter IDs. If you want Dell offers, then you go to dellhomes.com. I'm really surprised that wood.com has over 22,000 followers. Obviously, they do a lot of sale on Twitter, but they're doing it right. Having pages, if chips can have their own pages on Facebook, I think every product can have their own page. So this is, also, by engaging in reputation management in social media, we also got a lot of people who were wowed by the fact that we were there to answer their questions in this. We were not blatantly using this as a marketing channel. Some of them said good things. Even they did a case study out of our research. So the message that I have is social media levels the playing field. Whether you're a small business or a multinational company, you have the same voice. You can actually bypass the media, and you can publish your own story. You don't really have to wait till New York Times does that. Converse don't sell. I think Sean Collins in the summit also tells that to every speaker is teach, but don't sell to your audience. Again, answering questions, becoming an expert in your niche, learning and writing about the products that you do, you promote, and you'll find if you go on Flickr and look at some of the pictures, there are people who actually put their products and write a review of the picture, even if they are just a user and they're not selling the product. And the last advice I would give is be careful about mixing business and pleasure. So if you have friends, you obviously don't want to, you don't go to a party and start just blatantly handing out business cards. I think the same principle is there in the social media too. I'm Shashi Belamkonda, Shashi B on Twitter, and you can find me on my blogs or any other place. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shashi. We're going to switch over to Jivan. Let's pass this. You want to come up here?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that way. All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jivan Manhas. I'm one of the founders of Advaliant. I'm going to take more of a performance network approach to social media risks and rewards, and just sort of give you guys some, just talk to you guys about some of the stuff we've seen in our network and sort of the stuff we're seeing coming out and what advertisers and affiliates are talking to us about. I'm going to cover some social media promotion, just give you a couple examples of what I was able to find through Google, through Facebook and MySpace, and how affiliates are promoting certain types of products. Talk a bit about reputation marketing, and then close about social media integrity and how affiliates and advertisers can really use it to build a great reputation for themselves, but at the same time adhering to certain principles within social media that could have a long-term impact on their reputations. Here's a couple of very creative things we started seeing in our industry. Nutraceuticals, weight loss, diet products really took off late last year, mid last year, primarily promoting through Facebook and MySpace. And a lot of individuals were really just trying to get as much volume on these campaigns as possible. Facebook was very similar to when Google first came out with AdSense. They were pretty much letting any type of advertisement on their network. Didn't really have a lot of guidelines or experience guidelines on their site. So it was really easy for affiliates to get a lot of traction and a lot of volume on various different types of campaigns. One individual actually put up pictures on Flickr and linked it back to an Akai page. And that was actually the third link on search for SIE on Google. So some really creative ways of doing social media. Another gentleman talked about how SI can help you lose weight in the free trial, and really promoting products through a blog that was linked from an advertisement on Facebook. Here's another social media example. People blogging about how much weight they lost, and these products helped them do it, and abiding by certain FTC guidelines where you can't say I lost 20 pounds a week, but X number of pounds a week, and saying over a course of 3 months I lost 44 pounds. On the one hand, this is great for affiliate networks and affiliate marketers. It gets really good traction. It gives that personal story to the consumer who's looking at this product. But on the other hand, chances are it's a made-up blog. Not every advertiser is going to want their brand associated with something like this. The consumer may not know this is an advertisement. So there's a lot of risks and rewards here for an affiliate as well as an advertiser, as well as the site this is being promoted on. Facebook cares about a user experience. If you look at the evolution of Google 4 or 5 years ago, when they put in, started getting a lot of affiliate type campaigns off AdSense, it was because they thought the user experience was really poor, and they wanted to get away from that, and they were willing to bite the bullet on the lost revenue in order to get a better user experience and get more sustainable long-term revenue for themselves. If you look at the evolution of AdSense in that sense, social media is starting to grow the same way. So as an affiliate, what you want to do is stay ahead of that curve and start building really top-tier type sites that Facebook will never have an issue with. They're always going to make you, start rating you as a top-tier advertiser on their site. Advertisers will eventually start specifically asking to be a part of your site and promote through your site. And we're starting to get a lot of that from advertisers right now who are coming to us and saying, I'm seeing all this stuff online. I don't necessarily want to be associated with it. I want full transparency. If you're going to put my Hewlett-Packard brand on somebody's blog, I want to know how they're doing it, where they're doing it. I want to approve all the content. So we're starting to see a lot of top-tier brands coming in and specifically asking certain affiliates to run their campaigns, asking for ratings on affiliates, saying, you know what, this guy could be great, he could be driving a lot of volume, but if he's doing it this way, I don't want to be associated with it. So this guy could get a rating of a 3, and he's going to be promoting, maybe tier 3, tier 4 type of advertisements. You might have a 5-star affiliate and say this guy can push the HPs, the Dells, and the Ford Motor Companies of the world. So social media is a great tool for affiliates to really start building a reputation for themselves, and for advertisers to really start associating themselves with great blogs and great social media marketers. Here's a perfect example. Kmart went to 6 very popular, very well-known blogs, I think it was about a month or so ago, and said, here's a $500 gift certificate, go shop at Kmart, and then blog about your experience online. And so they just wanted to get their share of the social voice out there. But they didn't go to any Joe Blow blog. They did their research. They found out who they thought was reputable, who's going to give an honest opinion. Every single one of these bloggers actually blogged about the fact that they were paid a $500 gift certificate to do this. They were able to keep the products at the end of the day. So, Kmart took a very proactive approach, but this is what you're going to start seeing from a lot of brands. They're going to want to be associated with top-tier affiliates, and they're going to want to have some sort of reputation behind that affiliate to say, yeah, okay, I can, this guy has been around for a couple years. I know what he or she is doing, and this is somebody I want to be associated with. So just in conclusion, I want to talk about 3 specific things. User experience is very important to social media sites, whether it's Flickr, MySpace, Facebook. at the end of the day, they're going to evolve very similar to Google AdSense, and they're going to want to have you as an affiliate or as an advertiser to really ensure that you're not destroying their reputation by giving their user a bad experience. So it's very important for us as marketers in this industry to really appreciate what they're looking for. And a lot of people have lost their Facebook ad accounts, their MySpace ad accounts, because they're putting through a lot of stuff that these guys don't approve, and it's very difficult to get yourself approved again. So these guys are really starting to crack down. Our Facebook rep tells us all the time and the stuff they're trying to get away from, and how they're trying to get a better quality experience for their users. Quality and accuracy of the advertisement. You want to be able to say that this is an advertisement, or this really is me, and this is what I did. There's a lot of Akai stuff out there. There's a lot of bad press coming out about it right now, about these, all these drugs or weight loss products that are being out there. You're starting to see Larry King talk about it. You're starting to see ABC talk about it in a very negative way. And with that much volume going on in the industry, the FTC is going to get involved at some point, as well as attorney generals in various different states if they get a lot of complaints about this stuff. Quality of the product or service. We're starting to see actual affiliates come to us now and say, I want a quality product to push. I don't want something that somebody set up yesterday so they can make some money out of it. Give me a quality product. And it's interesting, you got the fringe on the advertising side that say they want full transparency and want affiliates that have a reputation. And now you're starting to see affiliates coming up to various different networks and saying, I want a quality product. I want to know something's not going to get shut down tomorrow morning. I want to know I'm not going to get in trouble by the law, or somebody's going to be knocking on my door 6 months down the road saying you're pushing a product that isn't necessarily real or underhanded or what have you. So it's interesting how the two fringes are starting to come closer and closer together, and I think that's really going to be the future of this industry, especially now with the economy going the way it is. Everybody wants accountability on their marketing budget and how it's spent. And that's it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Jivan. Okay, so everything's great and rosy, right? There are no risks, no problems. Now, if that was the reason, then lawyers would be out of work, and I know you don't want that. So yes, there are some things we have to pay attention to. When I go to a social media site, when I go to any site, and I sign up for any service, I always pay attention to the terms of service and the privacy policy. I'm actually one of the people who reads this. How many people read that when they sign up for a service? Raise your hand. Do you know how much time we spend creating these documents? Well, these are actually legally enforceable documents. And when you click I agree, that really means you agree. Well, does everyone know what they're agreeing to on MySpace? Let's take a quick look. Well, firstly, it says non-commercial use by members. The MySpace services are for the personal use of members and may be used for promotional purposes as well, but direct-to-commercial endeavors may only be used if they are specifically endorsed or authorized by MySpace. Well, what does that mean to be specifically endorsed? Well, this is written by lawyers, so, it's obviously, lawyer weasel language, it's a little vague. They do go on to explain further down that commercial advertisements and affiliate links may be removed from member profiles without notice or explanation. All right, so they're already telling you that some things are not permitted unless you get permission. They go on further and say MySpace reserves the right to take appropriate legal action for illegal or unauthorized use. Then you think, all right, blah, blah, blah. They're not really going to come after me. They got a nice kicker there now. It says $50 per unauthorized email or communication through MySpace. So if you go into MySpace, you violate the terms of use, send like 1 million messages that you weren't authorized to send, you have agreed in a binding document to pay MySpace $50 million. So now I don't think we all have that sitting around as spare cash, so the point is you got to pay attention to what these terms say. Well, YouTube, another site that's used often, everyone's talking about Facebook, but people use YouTube as well. It's also user-generated content, social media, but they take a very different approach. They just love getting content. MySpace and Facebook are very concerned about making the user experience very clean and seamless. YouTube is concerned about that as well, but they just love getting tons of content. So they have the same general language that says you can't use the website for commercial use. But then they go on to say permitted commercial use does not include uploading an original video, maintaining an original channel, or taking the embedded player and putting it on your site. So they're basically saying go out and have a lot of fun. Well, there are a couple of rules of the road. Sometimes people who are unfamiliar with user-generated content and social networking think, how can these sites not get in trouble for what they do? Well, there's 2 laws. Here comes the law school part of the presentation. Digital Millennium Copyright Act you may have heard of, called DMCA, and Communications Decency Act. Well, let me give you real-world examples of what this is. What's the DMCA? If you're a copyright owner and you see a video on YouTube and you say, hey, that's mine. I never gave them permission to put that up there. I didn't give the user permission to put it up there. I want it down. The DMCA says that YouTube is not liable if they put a procedure in place for the copyright owner to send a claim. So you see your content on YouTube, you follow this procedure, which comes directly out of the law, to send them a notice, and YouTube has a process that by law they're supposed to follow if they don't want to become liable for copyright infringement. Say you're going to start your own service and you're going to have user-generated content on your service, you need to put a procedure in place like this so that you are not liable for user-generated content that others upload to your site. All right, the other one I talked about, Communications Decency Act. That's what protects websites so that they're not liable for what other users say. So if someone said something bad on Facebook, Facebook is not liable for what's said. Let's give you an example of this. All right, this website, don'tdatehimgirl.com. Don't think I need to explain to you what this site is all about. It's about women who post comments about unpleasant dating experiences with some fine young gentlemen. You can imagine the comments are not too flattering. I'm sure what's said about Brandon there is not too good. Well, there was one person who had some very bad comments, Mr. Todd Hollis in Pennsylvania. Now, people posted about him that he has herpes, he's gay, he gave me an STD, and his crib is a dump. Well, two things about Mr. Hollis. He's an attorney, and he never read the Communications Decency Act. So he decided to sue don'tdatehimgirl.com. Well, ACLU and the Electronic Frontier Foundation said, perfect test case, no way can a website be liable for what these women said about him, whether or not it's true. He could have a claim against those women for defamation, but the website is protected by law. And so, again, if you're using a service, you got to realize the service provider is not liable for those comments, though you might be. And if you run a service in which you permit others to post comments about one another, you won't be liable. And this law is actually held up very, very well in court. All right, the last thing I want to tell you, again, not getting you too scared, whenever you do anything in the online world, in the interactive world, privacy. Privacy is a big, big, big issue. If you collect personally identifiable information from people, you need to have a privacy policy, and you need to be concerned about how you use the data. Here's another war story, Greer versus 1-800-Flowers.com. Mr. Greer decided to do a very nice, normal thing. He decided to order some flowers for his girlfriend. So he called up 1-800-Flowers, and he said he wanted to order some flowers. He placed his order, but Mr. Greer was concerned about privacy. So he said to 1-800-Flowers, do you have a privacy policy? Because I want to make sure my information is protected. And they directed him to their website, and at the bottom there was a privacy policy which said that all of his information would remain secure and it would not be disclosed. Well, when Mr. Greer was ordering the flowers for his girlfriend, the one person he didn't clear it with is his wife, because Mr. Greer was already married. So he places the order for the flowers of the girlfriend. Well, 1-800-Flowers had a policy at that time where they would send a thank you card when you ordered flowers. Now, where do you think they send the thank you card? To the home billing address for the credit card that he used. So they send it to the home address. Well, Mrs. Greer got the mail that day. She got the little card from 1-800-Flowers. She opened it up. It said, thank you for your purchase. She said, I don't understand. We didn't order any flowers. So she calls up 1-800-Flowers and says, we got this card. We didn't order any flowers. And the customer service rep proceeds to tell Mrs. Greer that Mr. Greer ordered the flowers, tells her who they were sent to, the name of the person, even reads to her the content of the personal message that Mr. Greer put in the card for his girlfriend. Well, this customer service rep obviously hadn't read the 1-800-Flowers.com privacy policy. So the point of this story is privacy is incredibly important, but it's also incredibly important that you follow what you say. So if you put a service up and you think, I just need to throw up a privacy policy there because I know everybody does it, I'll just copy one from someplace else, I'll do it quickly. No, you can get into big trouble. You got to make sure that you pay attention to what you say and you train your employees, because privacy is one of the big things that regulators are concerned about with social media. Okay, and with that, we're going to turn it over to Will to continue scaring everybody out there before Mike makes it all happy and brings you back, brings you off the ledge.
Yeah, these work. Thanks, guys. I'll just sit down. Can you hear me? Thanks. The Florida Attorney General has been very active in a bit of this space, especially with mobile billed offers. We are mostly concerned about representations in the order path on those offers. And I tell you that because we're going to get around to showing you some social media offers that are derived from MySpace and Facebook sites. And our concerns are much the same. So let's get into that if we can. This is a mobile messenger ad from MySpace. You've probably seen this. They seem to own this, this banner on MySpace. Part of, as you understand, what our concern is here is that the demographic for this sort of ad is perhaps a vulnerable demographic, to say the least. The people that are interested in this are often teens or even tweens, so we're very, very interested in making sure that there are good disclosures about the material terms of any sort of billing that will result out of this. Again, this is a page, you know how this works. It's a double opt-in. You put in your cell phone number, and then you receive at that cell phone a 4-digit PIN code. You put that in, and the billing starts. This is a little bit of that, continues with that. This is a Facebook ad, much the same. Again, an order path that is geared to perhaps a more vulnerable demographic. You go through that, and it's all the same. It's double opt-in with the cell phone and the PIN code. One from rockyou.com, very much the same. IQ quiz, in with a number, a subscription, of course, ensues. The price of that is $9.99 a month. That disclosure is way up top. It may be that you see that. It may be that you don't. What I really want to talk to you about, though, is not only that, but what we are seeing more and more of, and that is the virtual currency promotion paths. Those, of course, require the purchase of 2 or more offers to do something. It may be that you want to play poker with your friends, and you can get 10 games of poker if you purchase 2 things, maybe a Blockbuster subscription or some other thing. It may be that you want to play this game out there. I think it's called Mafia Family, and you can get a gun, for instance, a more powerful gun, virtual gun, if you actually engage in a purchase of 2 or more things. The risk with the Florida AG are the same in that sort of marketing as in any mobile billed offers. That is to say that we are looking for clear and conspicuous disclosure of price and term in all these offers. If you have to make a purchase to do something, then the terms of that purchase have to be clearly and conspicuously disclosed. We got into this a year or so ago with all the free ringtone offers. You guys are very, very familiar with all that. Those offers were pretty bad. A lot of them were very good, but a lot were bad. And the ones that were bad were really driving out of business the people that were doing it right. Interestingly enough, both the FTC and most state attorney generals have consumer protection laws that are charging, in which we are charging not only with protecting consumers, but also businesses. And in this area, we want to see businesses do it right. We don't take a position on any of this stuff as to whether or not the product is legitimate. That's not our purview. Who knows what people want, and it's all fine, whatever it is, as long as the material terms of the purchase are clearly and conspicuously disclosed. And that's what we're looking at. So to sum up, the risk in social media as far as an enforcement agency like the Florida Attorney General is concerned is that the material terms of a purchase are not clearly and conspicuously disclosed. If they are, no matter what the product or service to be purchased is, you're in good shape with us. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much, Will. All right, Mike, make us all happy and warm again.
We'll see. So what I'm going to talk about today is I'm Mike Kowal from LinkShare. We work with a lot of large brands, a lot of the big, major affiliates that are out there, And what I'm going to do is, Jivan talked a little bit about kind of the outputs that he's seeing from his side of things. What I'm going to talk about is the inputs, and really how do these conversations start with advertisers, and really starting to, how do they look at it, and how are they starting to look at social media? So what I did is went through and thought of some of our brands that we've worked with, some of the conversations, and really tried to create like a little framework. So as you start to think of brands, where would they fall, and what are the sort of things as an affiliate or publisher that you'd have to think about as you start to forge social media relationships? Next slide. So again, everyone agrees social media is here to stay, but not all companies are really coming to grips. I will say, broadly speaking, that most of the people that we deal with, from the affiliate side of things, from the online side of things, they get it. They get social media. They understand the value of it. They understand the potential. But where the sometimes the roadblocks are our friends, the attorneys, who are looking at this, and also the CMO, looking at things from a brand perspective. If you think of it historically, brand has always been looked down, top-down investment, definition by the top-down, telling people what the brand is, what it stands for. They understand the power of social media, but they're not comfortable with it yet, and how that will relate to the investment that a lot of companies have put in over time. And I think what that means from an affiliate and from a publisher perspective is, again, they are not necessarily comfortable with social media, and they're not comfortable in some cases that it should be part of the affiliate channel. So like I said, I want to go through the next several slides, just looking at some broad categories of brands, and really so with the goal of understanding, as you launch a site, as you are doing different things, understand where the brands might fit into this, and really then will help you kind of stay out of some realms where you might be making these larger brands feel uncomfortable with the social media or whatever you might be doing. So broadly speaking, this is the ones that are most comfortable with it. And these are the big brands, the ones that have a lot of products that are price comparisons. So you look at an Overstock, Walmart, Buy.com, a lot of similar products. The buying process, people are evaluating. These are the products that are on comparison shopping engines as well. And broadly speaking, these people are comfortable with social media. They see that the value that is provided is social media is really helping with the buying process. So if I'm going to buy a computer, and this is where you go back even historically, affiliates have helped with that. You have a site like a Brad's Deals or Fat Wallet or different things, or tech blogs. People are talking about computers. They're talking about what the value is. So the value that they see, again, is it's an extension of the existing affiliate businesses that they're in, and that it really helps with the buying process, helps the consumer cement the deal. So these are ones that I think are heavy, and you can pretty much, as long as, they are most comfortable with overall with social media, I'd say. The next is cult brands. And, consumers, these are the brands consumers love to talk about. And so these are the ones that almost, is the lifeblood of social media. The problem with some of these is that a site like Apple or there's other things like that where it's a top-down definition that has defined the cult. Necessarily not, they aren't always comfortable with what you read the things that Apple's doing with some of the the Mac sites and things that are out there, trying to control what the message is. So they're comfortable with social media. They like the cult status. The question is, I don't work with Apple directly, but the question is, are they willing to work with it in the affiliate channel? And I think that's just one example, but all these other brands out there are, again, they're very protective of the brand. They see the cult, if you will, of really helping cement their brand status, but they are just not quite, they want to make sure that, they see that, a cult is I guess it's kind of it's a finite thing. There's very few brands that can keep this up over years. And what they want to make sure is, again, just they want to extend that out, keep kind of the momentum rolling, and really, kind of cement that cult status through social media. And these brands, initially, when we talked with some of these companies, 2 and 3 years ago, they love social media, but they weren't real comfortable with it. And that, they recommend, these are, and there's other companies out there, these are just some that I use as examples. They see that their products, and they believe that the products they offer are the best. They also offer top quality service. So if something is wrong with one of their products, they'll stand behind it. I know there was a story several years ago where Land's End sold a rowboat in 1957, and the guy returned it. And they gave a full refund after 25 years of this, rowboat that was on the cover of one of their catalogs. So these guys all stand behind their products, and they were a little leery of this, but now I think most of these brands are into social media. They see that this is cementing their reputation. And so, when there's a service, somebody is, the best way from a customer service perspective to retain a customer is to have that good service. So someone, a Nordstrom or somebody, you have all those stories out there where somebody's delivering shoes to the house. So if somebody goes out and writes about that, it just further cements their service image and that their commitment to quality. This is, I couldn't come up with a good title for this, but broadly speaking, these are products that the user can ruin. I mean, if you think about it. So, Omaha Steaks, one of our partners, they are, great product, but if I don't know how to cook, I can turn that great steak into leather in, less than 10 minutes. And it's not necessarily the product's fault that I don't know how to cook a damn steak. So you look at it from that, and, Gardner Supply, Jackson and Perkins, they can send me this amazing rose bush plants, but it's a lot of user skill that's involved of the application. So, makeup is a little bit where, it's the old, lipstick on a pig. It was a popular expression this year. It's still a pig after you put lipstick on it. So, but a lot of these are, again, the consumer perception is really colored by their skill in using the product. So where they are comfortable with is sites that are very niche and in this. So it's like, so people that are talking about, experts talking about cooking, experts talking about gardening. So they're much more comfortable where it's a community site than they are a broader, social site where there might be, multiple users and some of them that might not be as sophisticated in the skill. And the last category, and I think this one is the hardest, is child-focused advertisers. These brands are huge in social media, but it's all structured. So, you have these communities with Lego and Disney, Nickelodeon, Webkins. They all have these structured communities. So the problem that comes up is that when in a community that isn't closed, they are very, very uncomfortable with that, very leery about that. They see all kinds of pitfalls that they can get into from, we talked about a little bit as far as, ads focused to tweens and things. It's just an area that is, it's really open from a legal perspective. And these are the ones that I would be most careful with. And it's really all about communication with these guys. It's just, if you're going to be featuring any brand that, it might be child focused a little bit, make sure you're being very open with what you're doing, be very communicative every step of the way. And I think, again, it's forging a strong partnership is the way to go. And I think this is, again, overall, I would say, most of these brands, like I said, they get it, and it's all about the communication. I mean, so this is not rocket science. It's just making sure, it's not, not all brands are going to be comfortable, and it's, I think, overall, just making sure that you're open, being transparent, and overall, then you ultimately be rewarded for that. So, and then that was it from my perspective.
All right, thanks very much, Mike. Okay, we want to open it up to the audience for questions now. If you have a question, you can certainly feel free just to step up to one of the microphones, and we'll do a couple of questions up here on our own, but certainly feel free to hop right up. Prefer to hear your questions than my questions. Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Okay. Hi there, I'm Mari Smith. I don't know if this is on or not. It doesn't sound very on. Oh, there it goes.
There we go.
Hi, I'm Mari Smith, and I teach people how to use Facebook to market their business, and a question that I get a lot is, Facebook owns my content. Isn't there like a clause in there that says that you grant them a license to use it?
Yeah, it is a license to use it. When the social media sites first started, they did have some language years ago which said they owned it, or they have perpetual license to it, and people kind of freaked out, say, you don't own my content. So they have changed it. It is a license. However, it's an incredibly broad license. I don't know if you saw on the slide that I showed on YouTube, when you upload a video to YouTube, not only do you give YouTube a license to show your content, you give any YouTube user in the world a license to grab your content and use it as well.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I think that was the fear that people have, is that, well, if Facebook have a license, they could repurpose it and make products out of it and do all kinds of creative things, but I don't think that Facebook would ever do that, or YouTube or whatever, but very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting point. I mean, they do have even language in there that says that they could use your content, your image for advertising purposes and whatnot. They probably wouldn't be so bold, even though they've reserved the right. You know, if they had an advertising lawyer, I'd say, you know, let's go get a separate release signed. Let's not rely on the click-through. But yes, they do reserve those rights. So you wouldn't have a good basis to come back and argue, you know, that you can't use my content for that reason if you found out later on.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Jose Bertons. We're currently a very big Facebook publisher, and I was interested in the Attorney General of Florida about the risks associated to all these mobile offers, et cetera, et cetera. We provide just real estate, and then some other people actually feed advertising onto our products. How liable are we for that?
Do you generate revenue from that?
Yes, but we're not controlling what they're displaying. It's impossible for us.
Well, that's a problem. It is. In other sort of host and post situations, we look at everybody in the revenue stream. Maybe that's not fair. There are equitable theories of disgorgement that apply in that instance. We are just trying to make everybody take responsibility along the line. It's as good an answer as I can give you.
I guess to kind of follow it up a little bit, Will, I mean, you know, we saw with the ringtones and the way you've addressed things. I mean, we have 50 states and 50 state attorney generals. How can you advise, you know, a marketer or an affiliate of, you know, what standard they should meet to make sure that while they make one state happy, they may upset another state?
Sure. I don't know that to begin with, many other states are too active in this yet. Gary makes a great point. We need a sort of a national authority to jump into this in a big way. The FTC has been, in my opinion, a little reluctant to get themselves involved, and because I hear that all the time when we have investigative targets in, that's their concern. So we have tried to come up with some very simple guidelines, but it is absolutely true that, given the nature of the web, injunctive or compliance standards apply nationally, if not internationally. And Florida is in kind of a unique position, but ultimately we are responsible to our consumers and to other businesses that are doing it correctly. And so there's probably no easy answer there. I mean, we're not trying to take more jurisdiction than maybe is proper, but if we don't step in and nobody steps in, then what happens too? So it's a puzzling question.
Yeah, and I would think some advice, you know, whatever state you're located in, go to your state attorney general's website. I'm sure they have, you know, likely a department of you know, cyber fraud or, you know, some other type of, you know, internet marketing guidance. And you might see some notices that they've posted. You know, maybe they're holding workshops. And, you know, it's certainly very important to know what your own state thinks is appropriate. Yes?
Just to follow up, I mean, from what we've heard from our partners, there's a whole validation process that needs to be completed by these offers on side of the telecommunication agencies, on side of, there's a whole, like, it takes them 3 to 4 months to set up one of these offers. So what's kind of surprising is that post all of that process that needs to be followed in order to get that offer approved by the telecommunication company, we can still find ourselves in a situation which is still very gray. So that's.
No, I understand. In fact, if I can twist that a little bit, what's puzzling to us when we go look at this and when we find what are obviously offers that aren't compliant with existing advertising law is how those offers were approved by the telecommunications companies and the aggregators that are facilitating that process. I mean, I agree. There's a real issue there, and it, anecdotally, I hear that the carriers are becoming even more difficult with respect to approving offers and then auditing existing offers. And boy, is there ever a need for a uniform standard? Is there ever a need for for a bunch of us to get together in a room and say that with respect to this issue, this is how it's going to be going forward. But that hasn't happened yet.
Yes?
Hi, my name is Finn Downhill, and I wonder if any of the panel has experience of helping medical or pharma companies in the social space. I've come across this, and because of the regulations of what you can and cannot say with regards to anything to do with medical or pharma, obviously what I find is the brand marketers in these companies are absolutely terrified and really won't do anything in the space. However, 80% of decisions on what you do with a medical condition are starting in the space, because that's where you go. You research what other people are saying about their condition, what they used, and so on. So I just wonder if any of you have been in that situation, if there's any advice you can give to help these marketers understand, working around the regulations, the best way to use the social space where there's so much activity about their industry. Make sense?
Yeah, I haven't worked with any medical or pharma in particular, but I think it goes back to they see, again, they're afraid of any form of sponsorship of those type of offers. So that's where it gets into the monetization that I think they do see the value and how that can help a consumer buying process, but they don't necessarily see what their role might be in sponsoring that. So, again, this is broadly speaking from a brand perspective. They don't, I just don't think that they, again, because of the liability, and all of that they, as soon as they enter the monetary stream and that side of things, I think that that's really where they're going to continue to stay away from in a lot of respects.
I'm not even talking about monetizing, it's just participating in the social space.
And I think, right. And I think that's, again, it gets into any kind of, monetization, you're right, is one thing, but it's also even the sponsoring or even getting to the idea that you might be, lending credence to this, type of activity. So, I think they will evolve to get there, but I think in the next, a lot of again, those are the bigger brands that aren't as comfortable with that sort of thing right now.
Yeah, some of the challenges we've seen there is really controlling what goes out and what people say in the social media space. A lot of brand companies are terrified of that, putting their brand out there and then not having control over how their brand is represented. And in the pharma space, it's even more something that they're more concerned about, simply because there's so much more liability there. So if somebody starts claiming something outrageous about a particular drug or product, and it could come back on them, and they just don't want to be in that position. So the pharma side is very tricky, and we haven't done much on it, but we have talked to companies, and it's a real challenge for them right now.
I think ultimately what will happen is they'll see that it's being defined for them. Again, go back to that one where I said where it's from the top down to the bottoms up. And some of these companies are a little bit further removed from the online ecosystem, so it hasn't quite penetrated as much. But I think they'll see that it's being defined for them, and that's when they'll start to get in, because they'll understand that they need to control that, or try to control that message if possible, or try to direct the message and guide it to where they want it to go.
I think just as an observer's point, I met a gentleman in the corridor in the morning from Allianz Health. So they have a social network called Diabetes Connect. And I have a feeling, I don't know if they still have relationships with pharma companies, but I think that's the way people will go. To add to your answer is, once these social networks grow and become very powerful, I think pharma companies are going to look at this and say, there's a whole conversation about diabetes going on and we are not involved. So maybe that's the point where it'll push them into that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a balancing act, because, while pharma companies go out and they will make a disease awareness site, they are incredibly, careful to make sure that nothing there, goes too far, or they don't talk about any off-label uses. So I think they're dying for this conversation to happen. They're just worried that they're going to be responsible for it. Mm-hmm. Other questions?
Two quick ones here. Do you have any examples of anybody actually enforcing the $50 per commercial? I mean, we've had a $1,000 per topic, and we've used it to get somebody's attention in the past to say, hey, you need to stop doing this. So curious if there was any examples of that. Second part, interesting to see the current suits on CDA and Dmca. I'm very familiar.
Yep.
Is there a good resource for keeping up to date on those suits as they come to a conclusion?
Sure. To the first point about MySpace, what I've seen, 2 points. Number one, attorneys are bound by confidentiality, so I have seen things, had to leave it at that. Secondly, I could say you could just Google MySpace lawsuit, and you will see a number of cases. I'm not sure if it's specific on the $50 point, but you've seen in the press that MySpace has been very aggressive, going after folks that violate the service. And one of the reasons is because MySpace makes a lot of money on branding advertising, and run a site. And, they want to keep it very clean. Otherwise, the major marketers are going to stay away. The second point about cases for the DMCA and CDA, there are a lot of online sources. I think the Electronic Frontier Foundation, they have a website called Chilling Effects, and they have a very good site. I think what you'll see in general is that the DMCA is still working itself out in some respects through the court. The CDA has been amazingly consistent so far, that these service operators are really not responsible for what their users say. So it's really a really nice warm blanket for the social networks.
Gary, is there a threshold level of involvement by the operators with respect to the CDA after which they assume some liability?
Yeah, the issue there is, when does Facebook go from being just a mere service provider that is allowing a conversation to becoming a publisher of that comment? And I can give you a real world example, contrasting two cases quickly because I slipped back into law school here. There was a lawsuit in Chicago involving Craigslist, and there were ads on Craigslist which had very offensive ads such as non-white women need not apply for apartment rentals and other very objectionable things that actually violated fair housing laws. And the court found that Craigslist was not responsible for this. They are a service provider, and they are not, under the CDA, they're not responsible for what those users say and post up there, even though they make the service available. So that came down rock solid in favor of the service provider. Contrast this with there was a case against in San Francisco against a website called roommates.com. Roommates.com, similar type of thing. You can go there and users can just interact with one another to find a roommate. But roommates.com set up a template where you can choose drop-down menus, where you could choose gay, straight. I think you could even choose some other demographic materials, categories that would be prohibited under certain laws. And in that case, the court said, Roommates.com has gone from just being a mere service provider to actually enabling the conversation and providing content for that conversation, and so they can possibly be liable. So I think that is sort of the line when you want to watch it. Being the super conservative lawyer, I say to a client, stay back, don't go near the line. But if someone wanted to go near the line, that is the line where you're really providing content and enabling that conversation. Other questions from the audience? See one coming there?
To what extent are you finding merchants liable for affiliate actions, and what would you be recommending they do to protect themselves if they are in fact liable? And it can be unclear, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that could be an entire session about liability there between affiliates and merchants. I certainly think that there are some public interest groups and some regulators that would very much like to hold merchants liable for the acts of their affiliates. That would probably be the end of this industry here. So we certainly hope that doesn't happen. I mean, right now things are contractual. You're an affiliate, you have a contract with your network. Your network has a contract with the marketer. We would like to keep those lines. I mean, regulators want more transparency and really want marketers to keep tabs on their affiliates. We're always a little afraid that some regulators are going to come down or some court's going to come down and say, look, if you're a marketer and the affiliate is out there marketing your product, you're liable for whatever they say. There is some sort of strict liability in canned spam. In terms of who can be a sender, but in terms of the affiliate marketing industry as a whole, we haven't gotten there. That said, if you're a marketer, you really have to watch your brand. I mean, I think talking about social networking, we talk about brand reputation, and it's the same thing in the affiliate industry. I don't know if the other panelists want to jump in on brand reputation and how to protect that in the social media space.
Yeah, I'll jump in. That's a big issue for a lot of brands out there. I mean, the biggest challenge for the tier 1 and tier 2 brands is trying to get the affiliate marketing industry to adjust to the way they want things done.
because they're walking in with a $100 million budget, and they're not going to say, well, I'll do it your way. They're going to say, you're going to have to do it my way. And here are the types of controls that I want to see when it comes to the promotion of my brand through social media marketing. So it becomes a real challenge for our industry that's been geared to be a little arrogant and say, well, you should really do things our way because we're the experts. We have to evolve to start showing the brands that we can work with them, give them the transparency they're looking for, give them the trust they're looking for. And as I was saying earlier, brands are coming to us and saying, okay, I want to know who's running my campaign. I want to know where they're running it. I want to know the contact names of the people at those companies. I want to know the ranking or the rating of that affiliate on your network. And I want to know how you define that rating, because I'm going to have my thoughts on that. And what you might consider a 5-star affiliate, I might consider a 3-star affiliate, and I don't want them on my campaign. So there's a lot of challenges that we still have with the brands and as an industry to really evolve ourselves to be able to work with them in the social media industry. Because again, it comes back to them not being able to control what's being said about their brand out there. And companies like Kmart are willing to jump out there and say, okay, here's $500, go to my store and judge my user experience. They can direct that conversation as it starts coming out in social media and start participating in it. And I think that's a bit of a challenge that a lot of these brands have, because they are control freaks. They are going to they're used to saying how their brand looks, the colors they're going to use, how it's going to be placed, the size of the fonts, the whole works. And in social media, they don't have that kind of control. So they need to also learn to figure out how they can direct that conversation in social media. But we also need to evolve to understand how we can better tune our services to give them what they're looking for.
And just from monitoring our reputation, Network Solutions, we use several tools like Radian6 to just monitor every mention that's made of Network Solutions, but we are playing more of a consultative role. A couple of instances where we have to say something that's contradictory to what's published, we use the comment section to go and say that. So I think since this is a two-way conversation, we also participate in that conversation.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. All right, I think on that point we'll wrap it up so you can all get a good seat at lunch. Thanks very much to all the panelists, and thank you all for spending the time.